Will AI lead to destruction of jobs? There's a lot more focus on beauty and wellness.
The Gen Z and the mental health aspect.
A lot of growth in data jobs.
2025 is going forward. Which sectors are going to take over?
You better learn it. If you don't, somebody else will and outshine you.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Workwise with Naukri. I am your host Sohini Ganguly, and today we are looking back at the 2024 hiring landscape. Joining us today is someone who has watched this job market very closely. Please welcome Dr. Pawan Goyal, Chief Business Officer, Naukri. Hi Pawan, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me. It's my pleasure.
So, Pawan, diving straight in, looking at the December numbers, right? It looks like we're closing the year with a bang. And it's not just December, September, October, the entire festive period. It was a great second half of the year for the hiring landscape. But that was not quite the story in the initial months. So, talk to us about it. What was happening in the first few months of the year, and when did the plot twist come?
So, if you look back in January, we were in negative growth. So it was, if I remember right, it was around minus 10%. So literally we've gone from minus 10 to plus 10. So that's a 20-point swing. And if you want to understand that, it's actually, we were coming off of the great resignation wave. It started in 21, lasted into 22 and tapered in 23. So recovery from that took some time. So January was a soft month, and that continued till about July, August. And September was the first month which signaled unequivocal recovery. Okay, and since then, we've been hovering in the 10% range for the last 4 months. So I think it's been a gloom to a great optimism kind of a scenario.
So it'll be right to say that sort of in the first few months, the job market was coming out of a hangover from the last few years and sort of set in the second half of the year. Right.
That's a good analogy.
So if I were to ask you, right, Pawan, what was one key highlight throughout the year for you? Like what stood out, or when you were going through the insights that come to you, what stood out for you where you went, oh, is this the trend?
So there are probably multiple things, but certainly one thing that stood out was that non-metro, there was the job growth in non-metro was much higher than the metro cities. So that manifests in many different ways. If you were to start thinking, hey, which states are the most high with highest growth? Normally, you'd have thought it would be Maharashtra, which has Mumbai, or Karnataka, which has Bangalore, and things of that kind.
That's not the case?
No. Do you want to take a guess? Which state?
I don't know.
No?
Delhi,
Okay.
NCR.
No, that's also has a metro. The top 2 states are Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, followed by Odisha. And then comes Tamil Nadu, which has a metro.
Okay.
So, and these are actually not just by small margin. Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan are at 18%, Odisha is at 22%. And
Are you telling me Rajasthan is a job hub now than moving from palaces and lakes?
Yes, Jaipur is, if I remember right, the IT growth in Jaipur is 44% year on year. 44%.
Massive.
Let that sink in. I don't think that's the case in any other city. So that's the highest growth rate in
Wasn't
Jaipur.
Bangalore supposed to be the tech hub? How come Jaipur has come here? And
No. So
what's the...
Bangalore is still a tech hub.
Yeah.
It is the center of gravity.
Right.
That's where most jobs are. But we are talking about incremental growth.
Okay.
And jobs are moving to where the talent is.
Okay.
Talent now just doesn't want to live in big cities anymore. They want to live closer to their families, where they think have the right environment. And that's why we're seeing this growth becoming more secular from metros to non-metros and smaller hubs. So Jaipur, Udaipur, Indore, Kochi, Coimbatore, Bhubaneswar, these are all Ahmedabad. These are all next emerging cities that we have in India now.
But then if the non-metros are so much on the rise, what is happening in the metros? Like I mentioned, Bangalore was a tech hub. Do you see any diversification of sectors there now?
Yeah, I was surprised to see a lot of non-IT jobs are growing quite well in Bangalore. For example, FMCG jobs, they're growing well. BFSI jobs are also growing very well in Bangalore. So Bangalore is now diversifying from IT to non-IT as well. That's actually always good for anybody to have a diversified portfolio. And from Bangalore standpoint, that diversification will be good for it. There are other trends. So we know colloquially that there's a lot more focus on beauty and wellness.
Right.
Okay, and that's reflected in jobs.
How
Okay.
how so? Please do tell.
Yeah. So if you look at beauty and wellness, the job growth is in its 20s and 30s. Okay, across different quarters. Okay.
And what kind of age group are these sectors looking at while they're
So
hiring?
then, while they're looking at all, but since beauty wellness caters to youngsters,
Yeah.
so it is more inexperienced talent or lower end of the experience.
Right.
Actually, they've also been a fresh magnet for fresher hiring.
Okay.
So lifestyle, wellness, beauty, these are things which we see happening around in our world. We see that, experience that, and that's reflecting in the job market as well.
Just panning out a little and going back to, we were talking a lot about IT and tech and everything, right? My research threw up some numbers that went up to 102%, and that was the growth in AI and ML roles. Pawan, I need to understand this explosion. What is happening with AI and ML? What is this growth, sudden growth, and across sectors, I believe? What's happening with that?
Yeah. So generative AI is a very interesting technology.
Yeah.
In my life, I've not seen any technology which has gone from mainstream to business outcomes in within 6 months. Okay. So ChatGPT became mainstream in February of 23, March, somewhere around that, where it became very common in everybody's lingo. And I know of several examples, including at Naukri, where it started delivering business outcome in 6 months. So generative AI is really a technology like no other in my lifetime, and it's leading to an unprecedented interest in ML. Okay.
Okay.
And that's where you see that 100% year-on-year growth in ML jobs. You also see what fuels ML is data. And that's why you see a lot of growth in data jobs. So that's like,
Is
that's
it?
also in the 40, 50, 60%
Okay.
range.
What kind of data jobs are we talking about here?
So anybody who is like data engineering, data analytics,
Right.
data storage, managing big data, all that, managing data pipelines. So it's a range of jobs in data, but data plus AI and ML. Okay, that's where a lot of growth, unprecedented growth that we are seeing.
So, sort of bucks the myth that AI is taking away jobs. Rather, it is creating more jobs if we are looking growth and in the range above 100%, right?
So I won't say that is busting the myth or any of that yet. It's too early to tell. But certainly there are jobs in AI, it's growing. Now, the question that is there on everyone's mind, hey, will AI lead to destruction of jobs?
Yeah.
Okay. And there is a lot of fear among white collar that job seekers that it will actually lead to destruction of job. Now, when I'm asked this question fairly, saying, hey, will it lead to job destruction?
Yeah.
I go back and look at history. So if you look at about pre-industrialization, 85% of the workforce was in agriculture. Okay, 85%.
Right.
And today, that in developed parts of the world, it is 5%. And India also, while it's not as low, but it's still 45, 50%. So now the fear was when mechanization came in, agriculture jobs will go away and people will be jobless.
Right.
But you know what has happened in the last 400 years. Okay, one, agriculture jobs reduced, but many industries did not exist. Okay,
Came up.
they came up, and
Yeah.
more white collar jobs, jobs just overall created.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at the long 400-year history, one area of jobs got destroyed, the others came up, but net, humanity has progressed phenomenally. So now, so what started at the physical level is now moving more up and is moving at the cognitive level.
Right.
Will what kind of jobs will go away and what will come? My crystal ball is not. I don't have that crystal ball.
That's
But what
fair.
I just look at from a history, long 400-year history, and that if that is to be any guide, I think one set of jobs will go, others will come.
So, Pawan, moving away from the tech aspect, now tell me what's happening with non-IT sector, right? It's not just IT that's booming. Like we discussed Bangalore's diversification. I'm sure a lot of other sectors might be seeing growth. So, what's happening there?
So actually, there's some good news for India in that. Uh, what we saw throughout the year, while IT was had declined quite a bit, the job growth was picked up in non-IT area. So, for example, oil and natural gas, BFSI, FMCG, these are the pharma, healthcare. These were the sectors where there was a lot of growth. So what we are seeing is some amount of de-risking of IT, de-risking of job growth in India from IT. So the more sectors that power India's job growth, the better it is. And we saw some of that happen this year. So both non-metro growth and multi-sector growth, those are both good trends for India.
And what about the experience bands? Who was the MVP in when we talk about experience bands?
Yeah, so that's a mixed story. If you look at the most of the year, people with more than 15, 16 years of experience, they were in demand. Okay. And so the talent that is still just get looking for their first job, the freshers, they had a hard time. However, the year ended on a good note. Okay, so since September onwards, fresher hiring has also picked up across different sectors, and I believe December has been a very good month for freshers in non-IT. Okay, so if this trend continues, hopefully the market will open up quite a bit for freshers in 2025.
Speaking of freshers, Pawan, let's talk a bit about the up and coming workforce that we call the Gen Z. Now, my LinkedIn feed is filled with managers coming out about how Gen Zs are becoming trouble at workplace. They are not ready to deal with things. They're not, the mental health issues are coming up. What is happening from your perspective? Or can you just talk to us about the Gen Z and the mental health aspect in the workforce right now? What's the situation like?
So whenever there's a generation change,
Yeah.
every generation thinks that the next generation is very different from them and perhaps not as committed to work as they are. I'm sure my parents' generation thought about me. So this change between generations is nothing new. Every generation is committed to meeting its aspirations, doing well for humanity. So I don't buy that Gen Z is any different in that sense. Of course, every generation has their own priorities, and that will change from one generation to the other. Now, you also touched upon mental well being for Gen Zs. I think it's an issue across the spectrum, not just Gen Z, other generations, millennials also, if you take. But perhaps it might be amplified in Gen Z because of some of the more dominance of social media. Now, mental health due to work related issues is also a significant topic. And most Gen Zs, not just most employees look forward to it. And I think our survey says 40 to 50% of workforce has benefited from mental health support at work. Okay. And I think the mental health support can take many different forms. All forms are appreciated. I think access to expert counselors is something that we found as having worked very well, and that's what is showing in our surveys.
And Pawan, what do you think about the entire, speaking in the same on the same lines, what do you think about the 70-hour work week debate that was going on? And it was one of the main debates of 2024. And when we're talking about the new lifestyle of Gen Z and mental well-being, how do you think this debate, 70-hour work week debate, plays out in this case?
So every individual, in my opinion, has to choose what is right for him or her. Now, I'm not going to talk about what is right for any specific individual, but from a country perspective, I believe that a country can develop only if citizens work hard. Now, what does that hard work mean? will vary for every individual. When I was a developer, I would work for 2 hours in the morning, and rest of the day would be free for me, and that was good enough for me. Okay, and I'm sure there are different people. There are some people who will work 14 hours and they'll have the same output. It will depend on every individual, but we will, as a country, if we have aspiration to transition from developing to developed, there is no easy way out. We'll have to work hard. I think the focus on number of hours is not the right one. It's actually the output that one can deliver, and one should focus on delivering.
Additionally, this hybrid work mode that we started off, say, for like when COVID started, which is 4 5 years back now. So, what do you think about the hybrid work mode going forward? What is the sentiment around in the job market like for the hybrid work mode? Are people wanting for that to stay around?
So let's split it into what do job seekers want, and what may happen in future. Okay, so clearly, when we do our survey, job seekers want hybrid work. About 50% of the job seekers believe it is here to stay. That's my understanding. So it's a trend which looks like is here to stay. Now, how do businesses accommodate that? How do they make it work for themselves? That's something that every business will have to find an answer to for themselves. So, for some businesses, they have chosen that hybrid doesn't work for them, and they will have always work from office, and it includes some of our big some startups, but other companies have figured out that hybrid works for them. So they're able to combine best of the both worlds, where people can avoid the commute time, but are there for majority of the time at work. So the learning from each other, collaborative environment, all of that is there. So again, it's a crystal ball gazing whether this hybrid work is here to stay. If I were to bet, I believe it is here to stay. Okay, because commute problems just keep going unless taxis come up and reduce commute problems. I believe it's here to stay.
And when we speak hybrid, it's not just the work mode, right? Hybrid nowadays has come up even in the talent part, wherein you cannot be a marketer without having the knowledge of tech, or you cannot be a finance person without having the knowledge of data, right? So, what do you want to say about this hybrid talent being on the rise with every passing day?
So tech has touched pretty much every part of the. It has touched everyone's.
Yeah.
Okay, so that tech enablement or being tech savvy is a given, but with generative AI, it's actually going to go to the next level. Okay, so it's not just that generative AI will impact only software development; it will impact everyone. Okay, if you are a marketer, you have to know how to use generative AI to become much better marketer. If you are a finance person, you have to figure out how to use generative AI to become a finance person. If you're a consultant, you have to figure out how to use it to become much more productive. Uh, pick of discipline, salesperson. He'll also will have to use generative AI perhaps to create a personalized sales pitch deck for the customer. So I don't see any function which was not going to be impacted. And this is my advice to everyone: you better learn it. If you don't, somebody else will and outshine you.
So sort of generative AI will sort of revolutionize the any sort of department that exists, right?
Absolutely. Okay. So I just heard of within our Naukri, this is a team designer. He just use one of the generative AI tools in order to create the design, but build a production ready app within matter of 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes or 1 hour, which would have taken several weeks. So it's a very, very different landscape that we are dealing with. And my advice to every professional would be learn how it impacts you, how you can become better, be more productive using generative AI.
This brings me to my very next question, which is about upskilling, because, like you mentioned, it is very important to learn these new skills. What is the trend around upskilling that you're seeing? What is the need for upskilling is on the rise? Do you see recruiters being more and more it for going forward for hybrid talent who have these new skills right on their resumes?
So let's look at again from a historical standpoint. So if you go back, what you learned in college could help you throughout your entire career. So the half life of skills that you learned in college is decreasing dramatically. So previously, if it lasted you for entire career, now it started lasting you for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, and now I dare I say the half life of skills that you learn maybe in less than a couple of years. So if you want to sustain a 30, 40-year long career, which is what most people will have, you have to have the core skill of learning to learn. Okay, and once you have that skill, you have to continuously invest in yourself and picking up new skills. Okay, so upskilling will has to be part of your DNA, and it's not just an advice for everyone. I had to do that myself 6 7 years ago when deep learning had started making significant impact. I knew nothing about it, so I had to go learn it, so that at least when my data science team talks about it, I understand at least part of it.
Superb. We were speaking about Gen Zs and freshers and upskilling. Since I was researching more and more on Gen Zs, I came across a set of words, which I am a Gen Z, and I will be very honest, I don't know half of them. But I would like to play this game with you and see if you are aware of these corporate lingos that Gen Zs have
Bring
come
it
up
on.
with.
Let's try it.
Do you know what quiet quitting means?
Does it mean just doing what is needed for the job?
Well, that's right. I
Okay.
think you're quite the Gen Z yourself. Okay, what do we mean by career cushioning? It's the first time I'm hearing it.
I don't know, but I'll take a guess. Does it mean trying to prepare an alternate career while being at a, is it like plan B for your career?
It actually is. It actually means preparing a backup plan for a job while you're still employed. Wow. So now you know if you hear someone at Naukri talk about career cushioning, what they're talking about.
My problem is my conversation stop when I when I enter any room.
Okay, lastly, do you know what Zoom Doom means?
Oh wow! I think it probably means dressing up for Zoom. Does it like only the first half, the top half of your body is for video call?
Zoom Doom apparently is overwhelmed by back to back virtual
Oh no
meetings.
no no! That one okay. I've experienced it myself.
So
When
glad we have started coming back to office now to
yeah no,
have
but
in
I yeah,
person meetings.
yeah, but I have experienced Zoom to myself. Right right.
No, but these are such creative things that Gen Zs are coming up with. So you sort of figure why the new up and coming industries are also so much front playing on front foot to hire Gen Zs and freshers, right?
Yeah.
So Pavan, just wrapping all of this up. I'm not asking you to crystal ball the moment again, but any predictions or any insights into what do you think 2025 is going to be going forward? Which sectors are going to take over? What's going to happen according to you there?
So when I look at 25, I look at it more from a lens of optimism. So first half of this year was negative. We are ending the year with a robust growth, and I expect that robust growth will continue into next year. Now, while this year was a sometime when IT was growing, non-IT was not growing, or non-IT was growing and IT was not, I think we are now positioned in a state where all sectors of the economy should be firing next year. That's what the early indications say, and I hope that's what turns out. The third thing which was challenging this year was freshers didn't have enough opportunities. That's started changing, and I do hope next year freshers will also have abundant opportunities.
Clearly, with the turnaround we have seen for fresher hiring this year, I guess it's a good year to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish everyone the best for the next year, and good luck to everyone for their talent search.
Well, thank you so much, Pawan, for joining us today. This was a lovely conversation, so insightful. And I bet all our job seekers, all the job seekers out there have gotten some really good tips from you. Thanks again for doing this.